Gavin Newsom, if you're listening to this, you're a failure. Mayors are actually some of the most powerful people in the country. The police are responsive to the mayor. The building codes are responsive to the mayor. The homeless, mayors are very, very powerful. So he was mayor of San Francisco. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry. Your son can't walk the streets of the city that you were in charge.
What do you get when a polished politician collides with a wrecking ball holding a mic? A meltdown, California style. Gavin Newsom walked onto the stage with Hollywood hair, camera-ready smiles, and a binder full of recycled talking points. But across from him stood Charlie Kirk, who didn't come to debate. He came to demolish. What unfolded wasn't a discussion. It was demolition in broad daylight. Newsom expected applause. Instead, he got roasted like a marshmallow at a California wildfire. Picture it.
Newsom. The hell?
Oh, no,
the hell is... who's a better actor? I'm not sure. They're both up for an award.
I was watching him on MSNBC. He's got a new hand motion. I was going to text him. It's this. It's got usually it's kind of this, and then he's doing this. He was doing this thing on MSNBC. He's doing this whole thing. Look, he is the fakest person I think I've ever met in my entire life. So synthetic, and honestly, that's very dangerous, incredibly dangerous. He's the type of person that could just stare at you oh yeah, I voted for Trump, and just pass a lie.
A man who looks like he just walked off a toothpaste commercial, believing he was born to save the world, but instead he's made brunch, housing, and even gas more expensive than ever before. That's Gavin Newsom in a nutshell, a walking Instagram filter of a politician, running California as if it were a documentary called How to Make Paradise Unlivable in 10 Easy Steps. And then came Charlie Kirk, usually ranting into microphones like his Wi-Fi just cut out, finally meeting his perfect opponent. Kirk didn't bring much, just pie charts, receipts, and the kind of facts that Gavin couldn't hairspray away.
You right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
If you're enjoying this takedown so far, pause for a second. Don't just sit back, smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe right now to US Today New. We bring you unfiltered reality checks the mainstream media won't touch. Hit subscribe and join us, because what's coming next will leave you stunned. Back to the carnage. Charlie didn't need fancy rhetoric. All he had to do was lay out the receipts, every disastrous policy Gavin signed with a smirk. What Newsom has done isn't leadership. It's performance art, a vanity project with a budget bigger than most nations, yet results smaller than his approval ratings outside coastal yoga studios.
Well, first, understand, being the inaugural guest, it wasn't really even sure what I was going into, right? Because at the front end, it was hey, there'll be no, gotcha questions. It'll just be a discussion, which was largely true. And secondly, when you arrive and they tell you all this stuff, they're oh, his son is a fan and all that. It was so over the top, charm offensive. I was are you going to want to become a member of Turning Point?
Start with the basics. California was once the land of sunshine, startups, and the American dream. Under Newsom, it looks more like a reality show called Survivor Bay Area. While Gavin was busy giving TED Talks about equity and climate justice, his cities transformed into Oregon Trail reenactments, only without the wagons and with way more hepatitis outbreaks. Streets lined with tents, sidewalks coated in what we'll politely call organic matter, and Newsom tweeting about resilience like he's hosting a poetry slam instead of running a state.
Look, it was really interesting. It was obvious that the governor wants to move to the middle on a lot of the political issues that the Democrat Party has been on the unpopular side of. The one that's making most headlines, obviously, is biological men in women's sports. And he said he totally agrees with me, and that's a direct quote.
Were you surprised by that?
I was a little taken aback. I anticipate a little bit more of a politician answer. You could kind of see that laced in, but then he just bluntly said, look, I agree with you. It's about fairness.
And let's talk about homelessness. Because Gavin sure won't, unless it's to announce another multi-billion-dollar plan that hires more consultants than it builds homes. He spent more on homelessness than the GDP of some small nations. Yet the only thing growing faster than his budgets is the number of people sleeping on sidewalks. Newsom turned Build Back Better into Tweet Back Later. Californians aren't seeing progress. They're seeing excuses wrapped in hashtags.
In fact, we are course correcting after 4 failed years under Joe Biden and all of the woke stuff and the anti-common sense movement. Gavin Newsom had me on his podcast, and I was shocked all of a sudden where he decided to diverge away from the orthodox opinion in the Democrat Party, which is as simple as saying that it's not fair that a biological man can compete in female.
Then comes crime. California has gotten so progressive that even the criminals are confused. Steal under $950 and it's not a felony. It's a coupon code. Gavin's version of justice reform looks like an apology note taped to the door of a ransacked Walgreens. Retail stores are fleeing faster than tourists who accidentally booked a hotel room in downtown San Francisco. And Gavin? He's probably busy rehearsing his next press conference blaming the crime wave on climate change, systemic inequality, or taxes. Anyone but himself. Meanwhile, California's kids aren't being prepared for the future. Newsom's idea of reform is keeping them out of classrooms, lowering standards, and handing out diplomas like participation trophies. California's public schools have become a tragic game of how low can we go. While Gavin brags about equity, as students struggle to read the instructions on their iPads.
It's a really interesting interview. What it came off like, it was like Charlie was trying to teach Gavin how to be a human being. Gavin came off like a Hollywood actor, somebody who is disconnected from regular people. And when he is around us, he has to kind of conform, like an alien almost. You're living over there on a whole different planet, and then you come down to this planet to do with.
Under his watch, California plummeted from top tier to total disaster, faster than you can say state income tax. And about those taxes, oh, they're progressive all right. So progressive, they chase away anyone making more than minimum wage who dares to stay inside state lines. Newsom's tax policy is like a haunted house. You walk in wide-eyed and hopeful, but you leave screaming with empty pockets. Californians are fleeing like it's the Titanic, while Gavin stands on deck giving a speech about how the rising water proves his climate plan is working. Tech companies, retirees, working families, they're all packing up for safer ground. And Newsom? He shrugs and blames Texas, as if Texas stormed in and sprinkled San Francisco's sidewalks with fentanyl, California under. Newsom is one flickering light bulb away from going full Mad Max. His idea of fighting climate change was shutting down power plants before securing replacements. The result? Rolling blackouts, energy shortages, and lectures from a governor charging his electric car with grid power he can't keep on. California has more sunshine than a Pixar movie, yet somehow every heat wave kills the air conditioning. Wildfires? Gavin's supposed specialty. This is the man who blames every blaze on climate change, while refusing to perform the basic forest management that might prevent them. Instead of thinning forests, he thins out common sense, then points fingers at truck drivers. At this point, wildfires aren't acts of God anymore. They're acts of Gavin, and then comes the presidential fantasy. Oh, he wants it. He denies it. But the hair gel tells the truth. Newsom's been touring red states like a B-list influencer on a comeback arc, lecturing governors with booming economies while pretending California isn't bleeding residents and businesses in slow motion. His moves are photo ops. His governance is vanity. He's auditioning for a political biopic that could only be titled The Audacity of Hell. The cherry on top? He still struts around pretending it's all working. Gavin insists California is a model for the nation. And technically, he's right, if the model is meant to be a giant red warning sign. Want your state to collapse under bureaucracy, sky-high housing costs, broken schools, rampant crime, and endless wildfires? Follow Gavin's lead. Just be sure to pack sunscreen, a tent, and a backup generator. And that's where Charlie Kirk came in, finally saying what millions have been screaming for years. Newsom has coasted on cheekbones and climate buzzwords, treating California like a Hollywood movie set. Picture perfect from a distance, chaos behind the curtain. Style with no substance. Spin without a steering wheel. When the budget collapses, Gavin spends more. When businesses flee, he hikes their taxes. When schools fail, he rewrites the numbers. When homelessness explodes, he builds shiny shelters nobody uses. It's like playing reverse Monopoly. He pays you to leave the hotel and bankrupts the state on purpose. California, once the shining beacon of American dreams, has turned into a dystopian sandbox for Gavin's ideological experiments. It's no longer the land of opportunity. It's the land of endless construction, $7 gas, and 10,000-word mission statements that say absolutely nothing. Don't be fooled by the Hollywood smile. Behind it is a man governing with the detachment of a tech CEO delivering a TED Talk during layoffs. He says all the right words, just never in the right order. A disaster with perfect teeth. Charlie Kirk didn't even need to tear Gavin apart. All he had to do was read the receipts. California's collapse is so obvious that pointing at it feels like public service. Because Gavin Newsom isn't just a failed governor. He's the patron saint of delusional leadership. A man so obsessed with his reflection, he doesn't see his state crying for relief. Or maybe he does and doesn't care. After all, he'll always have French laundry. And if Gavin ever stumbles into the White House, don't worry. By then, most Californians will already be living in Texas. If there's one thing he's mastered, it's driving out the middle class faster than a bad Tinder date. Teachers, nurses, small business owners, they're not fleeing because of politics alone. They're fleeing because they're sick of paying luxury tax prices for pothole-ridden roads, random blackouts, and homes that cost more than a kidney on the black market. California has more coastline than nearly any state in the country, and somehow Gavin made it so flushing a toilet feels like a crime. Droughts, fires, blackouts, disasters in California now look less like emergencies and more like daily operations. Gavin didn't inherit a crisis. He built one, slapped solar panels on it, and then lectured America about how to do better. That's why Charlie Kirk's takedown felt less like destruction and more like overdue reality therapy. Newsom's political playbook is simple. Break everything, gaslight the public into thinking it's their fault, then host a summit about reimagining what used to work just fine. He's got more buzzwords than solutions: sustainable, inclusive, equitable, progressive mad libs without verbs. Behind the curtain, lobbyists, donors, bureaucrats armed with PowerPoints that fix nothing. But Charlie didn't need to expose them. Gavin exposed himself. All Kirk had to do was shine a flashlight on the wreckage. California isn't a golden state anymore. It's a cautionary tale. Newsom is the narrator and the rest of America is praying he never takes this act national. Because here's the truth. California under Gavin Newsom isn't progress. It's collapse packaged as leadership. Once the crown jewel of America, it's now a wasteland of blackouts, crime, homelessness, failing schools, and skyrocketing costs. All dressed up with slick speeches and photo ops. Charlie Kirk didn't destroy Gavin. He simply held up the mirror. Families fleeing. Businesses shutting down. Streets overrun. Kids left behind. This isn't reform. It's delusion. And here's the scandal. Gavin isn't fixing it. He's rehearsing how to sell this disaster to the rest of the nation. If California is the model, America better wake up fast. Because this wasn't just a takedown. It was reality unmasked. Charlie Kirk proved what most of us already suspected. Behind the Hollywood hair and polished speeches, Gavin Newsom is the emperor with no clothes. And when the receipts are read, no amount of pomade can cover the wreckage. California isn't just Gavin's mess. It's America's warning sign. Ignore it and the nightmare spreads.